What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Get Over Yourself podcast, a podcast dedicated to self-development, self-improvement, and helping you achieve the goals that you've laid forth in your life. I'm your podcast host, Brandon Davis, and on today's episode, I have a good buddy of mine, Chase Stenzel, joining us. Chase is an absolute beast of a man. He is, 19 years old now, right?
Yes.
So 19 and trying to get ahead of everyone inside of the world. He's a young hustler like many of us here that listen on the Get Over Yourself podcast. And Chase just completed his second round of 75 hard. And so in today's episode, we're going to be dissecting that a little bit and just going to be asking him tons of questions about his experience, what he learned inside of it, and kind of how he's progressed. And hopefully some of this can resonate with you, whether you want to take on the challenge yourself or just implement little bits and pieces of it. But Chase, before we get started, is there anything that a fun fact that you want to tell the audience about yourself?
Fun fact. I would probably say one thing. I'm honestly like a clean freak in a way. Like it's kind of weird. I haven't been that way all the time, but over the past year, I've kind of been like a little clean freak. I don't know.
I think that's a good thing to be clean. I don't know. But especially I like I mentioned, I know Chase very well. We grew up together, and he lives with a bunch of my buddies now here in Provo, Utah. So I've been to their house. I know it can be kind of crazy to keep that place clean sometimes. So no, I think that's a good answer. But yeah, we're excited to jump into today's episode, hear a little bit more about 75 hard, and with that all being said, let's jump into it. So Chase, I guess just to kind of framework it for the audience a little bit, in case a lot of them haven't heard about 75 hard or maybe have misconceptions about it, give us a brief overview. What is it, and why would somebody even want to experience that kind of challenge inside of their life?
Yeah, so 75 hard, most people first off mistake it as a fitness challenge or just a challenge in general, but it is, as the creator Andy Frisella says, it's a program, and it's a mental toughness program. So there's pluses that come to it with physical and stuff like that. Like you're going to see physical challenges, all that. You're going to see physical benefits, but the biggest thing that you will see is the mental side of things 100%. And I could say that for myself. That's what blew me out of the water. I didn't believe the mental change and the difference I could have from when I started the program to now. It's literally you view everything different kind of. So it's kind of cool about that. And it's pretty much I would like to say an Ironman for your brain. There's multiple segments that you go through the program. And it's he talks about it a lot in his book that he wrote about it. But from day 1 to day 20, it's you have a different mindset. And then you start progressing, and it's kind of you have different challenges throughout your whole entire time. So it's pretty much just a program to help you create discipline, grit, perseverance, just have more confidence in yourself in general, and tons of other attributes that he talks about more.
So let me ask you this, getting a little more specific. Is it, at least from my perspective on 75 hard, it's a very linear structure. You have to do certain things every day.
Yeah.
And if you don't accomplish those certain things, you're basically out of the challenge. You either quit or you start over, right? So give us a step-by-step what it is and how that works.
So 75 hard, it's very, like Brandon said, it's very you have to stick to those specific things every day no matter what. So it's 2 45-minute workouts. 2 45-minute workouts, stick to a diet. It does not tell you what diet to stick to at all. So that's what a lot of people have misconceptions about. Oh, it's hard to stick to a certain diet. It's literally whatever diet you can attain to. But of course, there's always things where we know certain foods that we just shouldn't eat.
Right.
We know we shouldn't go out and eat fast food, all that stuff. Drink a gallon of water. A big thing that people don't realize is no flavoring in water. It's just plain water, not any sugar-free things, anything.
Even if you hit your gallon of the day?
You could hit your gallon a day. You could have diet soda if you want, anything like that. But just when you drink your water, there can't be any flavoring in it to count towards that water at least.
Gotcha.
And then read 10 pages of a self-improvement or business book that's going to help you personally in your own life. One of the workouts has to be outside, and then you have to take a progress picture every single day. And then no cheat meals and no alcohol. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty much the program.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, there's a lot to it. And so I guess right off the bat, I got to ask, how do you organize all that? That's because especially if everyone probably does like one or two things inside of their day. Maybe they go work out once or they
Yeah.
drink that water or like, read pages of a book. But like, how do you organize and make sure, okay, I've done every single thing in 75 hard that I needed to in that day?
So one thing that I really liked is Andy actually has an app on the Apple Store. I think it's like a couple bucks that you pay for, but I think it's way worth it. It's like $3, and it's literally like it tracks your progress from day one. So it's like a little checklist, and it's like 45-minute first workout done, second workout, stick to a diet, progress picture, reading 10 pages, gallon of water. So like once you're done with it, click it and just go on it. And then by the end of the day, when I'm like about to go to sleep, I go and check my thing because sometimes like I will just totally forget.
Right.
And like, yeah, some things just go past you and you just forget about it. But that's like, there's kind of a set list. And it's kind of like during the program, that's what you'll become more responsible about. It's just like knowing like, hey, I need to mark this off. I need to do this and stuff like that. So that it kind of keeps you like accountable. If you have the app, you could set reminders on the app to like, hey, I need to do my second workout by this time, pretty much.
And obviously, there's different ways you can set up your own reminders and stuff. But I'm just picturing in my own life, if I didn't have some sort of like calendar or something to track it, I would not be able to get that done every day.
Yeah.
And so, I guess going into that as well, what gave you? Let's jump back a little bit to your first time ever doing 75 hard. Before we joined today's episode and we started recording, Chase actually told me that the first time he did 75 hard, he feels like now having completed it again, he feels like it almost wasn't even like truly accomplishing it the first time. But even going before all that, what made you want to start this journey to begin with? Is it something where one day you're just like, I want to try something tough, or is it like you're going through crap in your life and you needed some kind of framework? What's going on?
Yeah. So I feel like I could say it started like when I started like 3 months ago or a little bit before, but I would honestly say it started just with the journey of right when COVID hit. You've seen everyone started taking their health more seriously in general. So I just started taking my health more seriously, working out, didn't really know what to do, kind of just followed stuff on the internet. And I slowly just got into that more. And then that's built up to me loving working out, trying to better myself every day. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Life gets busy and I wasn't taking things as serious as I wanted to be. And a lot of stuff went on between then and now. And I think now recently, probably in the past like year, so I went to school for a semester and I was just like, I don't want to do school. It's not my thing. So I was just trying to figure out what I want to do. And I was like, being honest with myself. It honestly started with that, just like being honest with myself. Like, who am I? What do I stand for? And like, what do I want to accomplish? And what I wanted to accomplish, I looked at myself and I didn't think that I had the discipline at all at the moment and perseverance and all those things to make it to the other side of what I wanted. I was like, just like took an honest assessment of myself and I was just like, I'm not where I want to be and nor where I should be. And so I pretty much just decided to start on 75 hard. But it honestly, so it was over Christmas break. There's Andy Frisella. He has a podcast.
Are you talking about this time or the first time?
Yeah. So, like Brandon said, the first time I did it like a year and a half ago or two. And after going through it fully this time and reading his book that goes into fine detail, like little things that you have to pay attention to, I was like, okay, I did not complete it the first time then. Like little things where I was like adding stuff to my water, kind of doing workouts back to back and adding like 45 minutes and 45 minutes together to make it longer. And like, that's just not how it's supposed to be. So it started over Christmas break where I was just on a walk and I was listening to Andy's podcast called Real AF. There's a guy named Chad Wright on it. He's like some Navy SEAL guy or something like that. And he just got into talking about like his creed. It's kind of like a standard that you have set for your life and stuff.
Kind of like you're always going to live up to it. It's like
that
your values.
Like, your values pretty much no matter what. And I'm not joking. Hopefully Brandon could like put this in the description of the episode or something. But when I listened to this video, I literally like got emotional and I literally started like having tears coming out of my eyes. And I was like, just like paused it and was like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing with my life? I'm so privileged to have the stuff that I have. Having things like just simple as arms, legs, being able to talk, see all these things, and I was like, I'm taking it so much for granted. Like I could be doing so much more. And then I was like, in that split moment, I was like, okay, I'm starting 75 hard tomorrow. Because I know and have seen other people who have done it that I'm like, I know doing this program, I can make the change to where I want to go. And that will help lead me down the right path, at least as a starting point.
So it sounds like to me, and you're coming from a little bit of a different boat, because even if you don't technically, you yourself don't count the original 75 hard you accomplished as actually being finished. You had a good idea. You had a great understanding, more so than anyone who's going to start it at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so coming into the second round, you're listening to that other show and you just kind of have this emotional thing come over you and you're like, okay, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
Do you think it is wise for somebody, for the audience listening today, if they haven't started 75 hard, if they are just hearing about it now for the first time, or maybe they've had a couple people they've known try it, probably a lot of them failed. In your opinion, is it something where you can kind of just get up and start, or do you feel like you have to kind of build up to it a little bit?
Yeah.
Personal example inside of my own life, there's been plenty of times, and I guarantee the audience can relate. I'm laying in bed, it's like 10:30 at night. All right, I'm getting up at 5 in the morning tomorrow, I'm hitting the gym, I'm eating clean. Next morning rolls around, I get out of bed at 8, and I'm like, well, all right, my success is already gone. So can you jump into it, or is it like, no, we gotta prepare a little bit?
Yeah, so I honestly, that was a big thing. I used to always just say I'm going to, and then the next day, it's kind of like when you think about doing something, you're like, oh, it sounds good, but when it comes to that moment, you're like, this sucks. I do not want to do this at all. And so in that moment, I was literally like so like strong in like my conviction to do it from listening to it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm starting tomorrow. And it was like, to give a background, it was a week before Christmas. It was my mom's birthday the next day. So like, I knew it was going to be like tough. I was like, why am I starting right now? But I was like, I need to start right now. And so I would say, and he talks about it a lot, times are never going to be perfect. Conditions will never be perfect. You're always going to find something to, an excuse to not start something. So you might as well start right then. And if you really want to start the program, what a better way to start than starting off hard? Because something's not going to be easy when you first start. When you first start, probably when you first started doing your podcast, it wasn't easy. You were still learning things out, but you just have to go and do it. That's how you figure stuff out. And so I just recommend just starting, just going and doing it, and you'll learn along the way. So yeah, I would recommend just personally just going at it and starting. That's the best thing, because the best thing is just action and doing the work, because that's where the changes come from instead of just talking. And it kind of goes into this space, and he talks about a lot. I'm like a big fan of him. I listen to him and I like all of his, like, he's just very like fiery guy, very passionate about everything. And he talks about a thing called being a success zombie. And it's literally people that just like pretty much like talk about those things like, oh, I'm going to wake up this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But when it comes to it, and then like you never do it. Like you go to all the conventions to be better, listen to all the podcasts because it sounds good in the moment, but like you never implement into your life. And I didn't want to be that person. I was like, I don't want to be a success zombie. Like I realized in that moment, I was like, I'm a success zombie. I listen to the stuff and I don't put it into my life just because it sounds cool. It sounds cool. People living that lavish life, having all that discipline. And then I was like, I need to make the change. But I would recommend just starting. Like it's the best decision you'll ever make.
And that brings up I think a very important principle that I don't want kind of overlooked. So I want to detail this out specifically. I was listening to another podcast at one point, and basically inside of it, whoever this guy was interviewing, he said, one of the worst things we could ever possibly tell ourselves is, I will start tomorrow. And I know there's the practical sense that sometimes you literally can't do anything until the next day or the following week. You have to prepare and whatnot. But his entire point of that quote was, so often inside of our lives, we get to the point where, oh my gosh, I'm all fired up, I'm motivated, oh, I planned all this stuff out, I'm going to start it tomorrow, and then things are really going to start changing. Then tomorrow hits, and like I said, you forgot to set the alarm, you snoozed it 1,000 times, something crazy happened inside of your day, and so you weren't able to make it to the gym, you weren't able to go do all the things on your to-do list so many times, and then you'll lay down that night and you'll say, all right, I still got the plan, I'm going to start tomorrow, and then everything once again starts. Life happens. I mean, that's as simple as you can put it. There's never, like Andy was saying that you mentioned, there's never a good time to do it. ever.
Yes.
And so whatever you're chasing, whether it's the 75 hard, whether it's you're trying to start a business, whether you're trying to, whatever kind of personal development goal that you have, start it now. Like, finish this podcast or pause this podcast if you need to,
do it.
Go and do it, right?
Yeah. And I would say it's just one saying, it's like the best time to have started a new habit or something like that was 6 months ago. The second best time is today.
Today, yeah.
Like, literally, it's the best time to just start. You don't need anything. You don't need to be fit to already start. You don't need to be able to have any knowledge on this. Like, just start, do the work, and you'll learn along the way. And even if you may, like me, the first time I did it, may have not done it completely right. You learn, but like, to get the full benefits of it, you need to stick through everything that the program says and without deviation of anything. Like, no matter what it is, and just stick to it, and you will see the changes like halfway through. You'll start seeing changes like every single day, and it just keeps getting better and better.
There's a practical side to that too. If you can kind of picture, how many times have you ever heard somebody say, like, especially right now, homes are incredibly expensive, right? A lot of people our age, it's how are we ever going to afford a home with what we're getting paid and for how much they cost and whatnot. And so how many people do you hear saying, oh, if only I bought a home 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Or when Bitcoin was booming at the time, oh, if only I invested $10,000 into Bitcoin, I'd be a millionaire nowadays. It's the people who actually did it that walk away and think, man, I'm glad I did it. It's not the people that waited for it. And so in that same instance, what's going to stop you from starting that today is only yourself. Don't be the person in 5 years from now who said, man, I really wish I would have invested into this company. I really wish I would have spent more time going to the gym then, now that I have heart failure,
Yeah.
Don't be the person who waits and waits and waits. Go and actually achieve it.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't say it any better. Just go out and do it, because that's where you're going to really make the mark, instead of just talking and doing that, because actions speak louder than words. It's like as simple as that. Like, if your actions speak so loud by themselves, like, you won't need to say anything. You won't need to tell anybody. You won't need to, people will just see it. So, Yeah, pretty much bottom line with that.
So now jumping back a little bit more into your personal story with 75 Hard, we got a good framework of what it is and why people should kind of get going, whether with that or anything else that they want to take on inside of their lives. Tell us a little bit about, this is coming from another podcast I just listened to. The gentleman who was speaking basically was saying he was training for one of those 100-mile races, those ultra marathons, and he said at the time that he was so physically prepared, but he wasn't mentally prepared. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying at the beginning. When you started 75 Hard, you thought it'd be all physical, but then you didn't realize all the emotional kind of mental challenges that came with it.
Yeah.
So lead us into a little bit of that.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with, because during 75 Hard, you have to read 10 pages a day. And let me first off, just by saying, reading, if you're not doing it, you need to. It's like, I'm sure it's like, there's so much free game out there and books that are worth $10-$20 that
are free at the library.
Free at the library. You could go to the library every day, and it will literally like change your whole mindset on things. There's one specific thing that I'm thinking of, and it's in a Tim Grover book. He used to be like Michael Jordan's trainer back in the day, and he's written a lot of great books. And it was talking about being physical. Like, it was something about being physical. You could be great, but like having the mental side of it is where you become like undeniable and unstoppable. Like, without anything, you've heard military people, like, you could be physically top notch in your class and everything like that, but if you don't have the mental side of doing those things, like, you're not going to go anywhere. So yeah, I would just say like the mental and physical side of it, like, I went into it was like, I kind of honestly was like, I don't believe that I could have this much of a mental gain in this program. I was like, I don't believe it, but I'm going to do everything and let's see if it happens. And slowly, as I was going through the program, I was like, okay, like after day 20, I was like in a roll. Things were hard, things sucked, I was sore and everything.
But you're getting used to it.
I was getting used to it, and I was like trying to be as intentional as I can with every single task. Like, no matter what it was, like drinking my water, I sometimes would get my water done at like 12 in the afternoon. Like, I would get it done as quick as possible, and I was like, oh yes, this feels good. And like, but like the mental side of things, once you like have something hit you that you don't expect to happen, that's where like it really shows like, okay, these mental, like the mental gains from the program had truly like came in. But yeah, it's kind of the mental side of things is like where it's really at to become like undeniable and really separate yourself. And this kind of go into like that a little bit, like the little details of everything as simple as like in the program taking a progress picture. Like that seems like dumb and why do that? It doesn't matter, but like you realize that the little single tasks every single day are what make like the difference. Like and make the separator between the person who you're trying to be and the person who's trying to catch you in something in business and personal development and body, everything like that.
Anything in life.
Yeah, pretty much anything in life.
So, having gone through that experience and kind of experienced these emotions that you didn't necessarily expect at the beginning, in life, have you found... So you just finished 75 Hard just a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah.
So now going forward, what are some of the things that you took from 75 Hard, some of these mental challenges that you can apply going forward to make you not just successful in a 75-day incredibly tough challenge, but for everything else in life?
Yeah, and so I would say that you could literally take everything from 75 Hard and put it into business, put it literally into anything in your life. Because I'm not doing 75 Hard. I'm not going to continue doing his Live Hard program that 75 Hard is a part of right now just because of circumstances with my work. And I won't be able to complete the 30 days. But you could take the fitness thing, like you're going to continue wanting to work out 2 times a day because you feel better doing it. In reading, like if you truly learned something from the program and did it right, you're not going to want to go back to your old habits that you had before that led you down a path that you did not want to be in the first place. So it's kind of like, it's common sense in a way, but it's harder than you think. Because like the day after I finished, I was like the next day I was like, oh, like, dang, dude, I'm done. And I kind of woke up and I was like stressed. I was like, what do I do?
Like, what do I do now? I have so much time.
I was like, what do I do? Like, I don't have a program to stick to. So like, this is truly where it like comes and like I have to stick to it. And there's so many things that I learned in doing 75 Hard, but I would honestly say like one of the biggest lessons that I took from it is like to be as intentional with every task as possible, not even with the 75 Hard tasks, with anything. Like if you're doing homework, if a friend asks you to like, hey, could you help me move or something, like help your friend move the best that you can, because that's really where like just taking any task as simple as like doing the dishes, moving someone, making your bed, doing that, like that really matters. Like it does, and it shows the difference, and it just like has you have a sense of pride in what you do, no matter what it is. And you could hate the task, but you're like, wow, I did that really good. I did that, and it feels really good to you, and it's like a confidence booster. But I would say that one thing that I really learned was just like you aren't owed anything, and no one is going to believe in you until you actually do something. No one cares what you say you're going to do. Everyone only cares what you actually do. Like It's kind of like actions speak for yourselves. You need to just do the work. And one thing that I figured out during 75 Hard is like before I used to always kind of just not be honest with myself and lie to myself about certain things, like say with working out or sticking to a diet. I was like, oh yeah, like, hey, I've worked hard all week. I could eat one meal. Like no one's going to know. It's not going to affect me big time. But like after 75 Hard, you're like, all those little things end up mattering. It's like, say you're getting engaged. You just got engaged recently. It's like the little things. Imagine if you just didn't tell your wife or your girlfriend, like it didn't express gratitude towards them, didn't do those little things towards them. You're not going to be with them. You're not going to be with them. Like it adds up, and those little things end up adding up to 10 pounds that you've gained in the past couple months. It ends up to not making as much money as you did before. And so I was
spending more money than
it could go into a bunch of things. But yeah, definitely from 75 Hard, I've learned to just like everything that you've done, like since the past couple months and to this day is directly correlated to where you are right now. Like no one is responsible for anything or where you're like, no one is in charge of your life other than you. Like, you control your own destiny. You do everything. And like, I realized how small I was dreaming in general about like things that I wanted and things that I could accomplish. Like, I was like, wow, like I thought so small. Like, there's so many things that I could dream big about, and like I could achieve those things because of the confidence that I've built and earned and stuff like that. Because I'm like, wow, I didn't think I could do this, but look, I did this. I did this. I could do anything that I want.
I interviewed a man, Brett Hill. If you guys haven't heard that episode of the podcast, go check it out, because a lot of what Chase is saying right now, Brett Hill, he's a master in mindfulness, kind of taking these simple tasks, the ones that we don't want to do or the ones that we need to get done, or maybe the ones we do even want to do, and kind of turning them into something that needs to get done to, I'm grateful I did that. It might not be something I enjoyed, but I'm grateful I did it. I can learn from those experiences.
Yeah.
So jumping back to your example of making your bed every day, not cheating yourself. Like you said, most of the time you're doing 75 hard or anything in your life, you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
There's the only person who's watching you the entire time is God, right? Like, that's the only one who knows exactly what you're doing every time. But his whole practice is, no, sit back and reflect with yourself. Figure out exactly what you are trying to accomplish, and don't just go through the motions. Think about the motions. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to gain from this experience? Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like in your case, not cheating yourself, putting in the little extra effort to recognize, I made my bed this morning. I did my 45-minute workout that I needed to get done. I didn't go 44 minutes. I didn't go 41 minutes.
Or even go longer.
Yeah. I hit my 45. I don't need to cheat myself by cutting it short. I don't need to prove something to myself by going over. I was able to do it.
Yeah. And I would say going off of what he said, it's very important. Just like putting so much effort into every single one of your tasks, in just in general, and what you do in 75 hard, because there was multiple times where I caught myself. I posted on social media multiple times. I'd walk inside and my alarm would go off as I'm going to the bathroom or getting a drink of water. And my mind would just hit me and I'd be like, oh no, I didn't do 45 minutes. I must have cut it a little bit short. I have to do it again. Like in 75 hard, if you cut it a minute short, it's not like you just go outside and make up that minute. You have to do it all over again. And that is the most annoying thing ever. No one wants to just do another 45-minute workout after. But during the program, it happened to me like 3 or 4 times. And I was eventually like, I ended up, when that happened to me, I was like, oh, that's no big deal. Like, awesome. Like, I'll do it. And it kind of like fueled me. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I get a chance to like get ahead even more. Like, another walk isn't going to hurt me. Like, I'll be able to like listen to another podcast or just better my health, get more steps in. So like, it flips your whole, one thing it's totally done for me is flip my mindset on anything that I look at, and like what I can accomplish and what I know I can. Like, my goals from 75 hard when I started for like my career, job, personal life, had like tripled. Like, I'm all like, okay, I can do this. Like, if I set my mind to that and I accomplish the daily monotonous tasks to do that, like, I could do it no matter what. Yeah, I'll just do it. If you stick to a plan and do something, like, no one's there to stop you at all. And that's the most important thing. And I've really learned to just like, there's always going to be people in your life that sometimes maybe don't want to go along with you with that journey, and you don't think that they're 100% with you, and they don't believe in you, honestly. And you just come to the realization, like, that doesn't honestly matter. As sad as it might be,
right?
Not every loss of a person that you have in your life is a bad loss. Like, it's like, it just happens, and sometimes it happens, and you just have to go along with it, and you realize in the future, like, oh, wow, like, that was good for me.
Right.
Like,
and with that being said, what we're going to do, we're going to keep carrying on this conversation, but what we're going to do is, this was going to be part 1 of the episode. So guys, if you listened this long, tune back in next Friday, and we're going to keep carrying on this conversation where we can get to know a little bit more about the process behind 75 hard, what's the next step behind it, and what do we do when people are basically doubting us and we think our so-called friends aren't even supporting us at the time. So tune in next week and we'll get into it.